we're exploring Southern Alberta. This part of Canada is one of those places where you can drive for an hour and enter a completely different landscape. You've got the Rocky Mountains and the rolling foothills that turn to open prairie. Plus, this area is home to small ranching communities, Indigenous cultural sites, historic museums, and some pretty dramatic reminders of just how powerful nature can be. So in this video, we're going to explore Waterton Lakes National Park, experience the incredible story of Frank Slide, visit a museum devoted to the age of the horse-drawn carriage, attend a proper small-town Alberta rodeo in Pincher Creek, and learn about the art of bison hunting at Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. These are 5 very different experiences, but they give you a good idea of just how much there is to see and do in Southern Alberta. Let's start at Waterton. One of the things that makes Waterton Lakes National Park so visually dramatic is just how suddenly the landscape changes. This is a place where the open prairie runs directly into the Rocky Mountains. The area was first protected by the federal government in 1895, making Waterton Canada's 4th national park, and at about 505 square kilometers, it's actually the smallest national park in the Canadian Rockies. And if there's one building that has become almost inseparable from the image of Waterton, it's the Prince of Wales Hotel. It was built in 1926, opened in the summer of 1927, and it sits perched high above Upper Waterton Lake. We've made a little pit stop at the bison paddock, and today they are out and about. We can see them really well, so we're basically on our own self-driving safari, enjoying the bison, also known as the American buffalo. So yeah, it's a loop, it's an enclosed drive, and we're gonna keep going and see if we can get a little bit closer. There is a tiny bit of traffic today, but it's okay. Like, we're still moving at a steady pace and everybody's giving each other plenty of time to get photos, get video, and just enjoy the wildlife.
Hello, my precious baby girl. Are you having fun in Waterton too?
So we're making lots of time for baby. We brought the little picnic blanket so she gets to crawl on the grass. Movement, motion.
I think we got ourselves a little explorer, don't we?
Yeah.
We're right nearby a major attraction, the waterfall. But just, across the street we have this quiet little place to ourselves. It feels like we have our own little picnic area.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it.
Frank Slide is one of those places where you need to learn the history to truly understand what you're looking at. At 4:10 in the morning on April 29th, 1903, a massive section of Turtle Mountain collapsed onto the mining town of Frank below. In roughly 90 seconds, an estimated 82 million tons of limestone came crashing down the mountain. The slide buried part of the town, railway lines, and mining infrastructure beneath an enormous field of rubble. More than 90 people are believed to have lost their lives, though an exact number was never established since most victims could not be recovered. Not surprisingly, the safest place to be at that moment was inside the mountain. The miners who were underground working the night shift survived and managed to dig their way out. So what caused this? Today's scientists believe the main problem was that Turtle Mountain was unstable due to faults, erosion, and repeated freezing and thawing that had weakened the mountain until it collapsed. It's well worth going into the Frank Slide Interpretive Center, and afterwards you can take the trail that loops through the rock slide. Ready?
Set.
Set.
Go.
Go! Can you say go?
She's been learning her.
She's like, no, I'm shy on camera.
She's been learning her ready, set, goes with Miss Rachel.
Yes.
So we're practicing out in the wild here. We did come here a few years ago and we just did the hike, but going inside the museum, you just learn so much about what happened, and it's obviously a very tragic event. And
yeah, it's worth watching the movie to hear the stories and like see how it all unfolded.
The movie plays every half hour.
Yeah.
And I think it's 28 minutes long.
Yep.
And it's really well done. Inside the interpretation center, there's a lot of really good information. There's stories about the survivors, there's some artifacts, there's some interesting facts about the geology. It's really well set up. It's $18 for adults and $14 for seniors. And if you come as a family, especially if you come with lots of kids, I think you can get the family pass for $45, and that's 2 adults and up to 6 kids.
Interesting fact that we learned at the Interpretation Center while watching the movie is that the First Nations knew this mountain was trouble.
Yeah,
the Blackfoot.
Blackfoot.
Yeah.
They knew it, and they were. They called the mountain mountain that moves.
Yes.
And they every time they traveled through these areas, they refused to camp anywhere near the mountain because there was a fear that something was going to happen. And they told the settlers about this, but no one believed them, so they built the town right underneath. And this is what happened. And the other thing is that they did studies on this mountain, and apparently it's still moving, so it's not over yet. They don't know when, but this thing is not stable.
Not done rumbling yet.
Yes, so let's go for a little trek.
Yes, we are going to trek. We're going to hit the trails. You ready?
Absolutely. And this one's
the little one's also ready in the backpack.
The little hiking buddy.
So let's choose a trail.
Which
one?
Let's go.
Down here. Down here.
So the rock slide hit at a speed of 120 kilometers an hour. Just impossible to survive that. Filming the berries, a nice little feeding spot for any black bears roaming around here.
I was just going to say they obviously haven't been here. They've been visiting our property and kind of picking us dry, but not in this particular trail. And we found some nice shade here for baby Aurelia. Toddler Aurelia, I should say. She's a little...
I don't know, she's looking a bit dozy. But...
she might... This is actually when she normally takes a nap. But, yeah.
I also just want to show you guys the size of some of these rocks. Like some of these are bigger than cars, like the size of half a house. Like that one back there. Massive. Another place to visit in Southern Alberta is the Remington Carriage Museum in Cardston. This is the largest museum of its kind in the world, with a collection of more than 330 horse-drawn vehicles. We saw everything from elegant carriages and sleighs to wagons and delivery vehicles. The whole thing started with one local collector named Don Remington. He spent years collecting and restoring horse-drawn vehicles and eventually donated 48 carriages that became the foundation of the museum. From there, the collection continued to grow into what you see today. I think what makes this museum even more interesting is that you can see how completely transportation once depended on horses. Before cars took over, there were different vehicles for different jobs, roads, seasons, and even levels of wealth. The museum has a restoration shop where you can see how the vehicles are restored. Plus, you can also sign up for a carriage ride, which of course we did.
Do you need help, Audrey? You sure?
How is everybody today?
Good.
Good.
Exercising them.
How much of a help have you got there?
So he used to run a trap line along this creek here. It's actually called Chief Mountain. It's hidden in the smog today.
Smashed-in Buffalo Jump is one of the most important Indigenous cultural and archaeological sites in Canada, and it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1981. What you're looking at here is much more than simply a cliff. This is where the foothills of the Rocky Mountains meet the Great Plains, And for nearly 6,000 years, the indigenous peoples of the North American plains used a pretty sophisticated understanding of bison behavior and the surrounding landscape to carry out communal hunts. Hunters would dress in coyote and wolf skins and use the natural terrain along with the drive lanes and stone markers to funnel herds towards the cliff. After a successful hunt, the bison were then processed in camps below, providing not only food, but materials used for clothing, tools, and dwellings. Alrighty, so I want to show you guys the museum or the interpretation center because there's this really cool replica, shall we call it. We've got this cliff with 3 buffaloes up top so that you can get a better idea of how they used to hunt them. So you get a good look there. Yeah, one thing to keep in mind, if you visit during the summer months, July or August, every Wednesday at 11 and 1:30 p.m., they have a little powwow, so you can actually hear the music and see the dances of the Blackfoot. So it's really cool. We were just out there. There was a nice big crowd. Our girl loved it. She was clapping and laughing and singing the whole time. So it's really nice if you can come on a Wednesday to take that in and enjoy that aspect as well.
So something interesting here for people who have kids, come take a look at this. You can color your head smashed in buffalo jump.
Nice, that's fun.
That's really cool.
Our little one's a little too young for this.
Yeah,
but
not quite.
next year.
Maybe in the next year or two. But yeah, I thought that's neat. It's very family friendly.
A little caution sign over here. On the drive over, we were wondering, I wonder if the bears make it this far out into the plains. Apparently, yes. Occasional sightings of cougars and bears. It says hike only in groups, make noise, watch over children. So good to know.
All right, friends, so we showed you the short hike on the upper level, and there's also an interpretive hike here at ground level. So basically what I'm doing now is the 1.2 kilometer hike. It's as easy as can be, and Aurelia, Daniel, and Audrey are cooling off with the air conditioning in the interpretive center. But I think along the way, I'm gonna get some nice views of the cliffs, and I should also be able to see some of the teepees up close. So this is gonna be an interesting walk, I think.
If you're going to visit Pincher Creek, I recommend you do so the 3rd week of August for the Pincher Creek Pro Rodeo. Ranching and the rodeo tradition in Pincher Creek go back much further than the modern professional event. According to the Canadian Professional Rodeo Association, one of the earliest local competitions took place back in 1891, when neighbors gathered with their horses and livestock on the property of John Heron, a former Northwest Mounted Police officer. Those gatherings became a community tradition, and it eventually grew into what it is today. So while rodeo is entertainment, in a place like Pincher Creek, it also connects directly to the ranching and agricultural history of the surrounding region. That makes this small town rodeo very different from seeing something on a big scale like, say, the Calgary Stampede.
Get ready on Prairie Rodeo southbound, the Dano horse, a money bareback rider. Oh, I like that with the big bareback. All right, here we go. He's out and after it right now. Come on, Derek. Come on, buddy.
too?
Oh, it's been fantastic.
We are taking an intermission.
Intermission, a little break.
Oh man, we're digesting the burgers at the concession were phenomenal. Big, thick Albertan beef, double patties.
Real beef.
Real beef.
You can taste the difference. Grass-fed cattle.
But anyways, about the rodeo, it's just been fantastic. I mean, it's just so many different events happening. We have kids participating.
It's nice to see so many different generations get involved. Kids, young boys and girls are also allowed to participate. So
some of the kids have done the best so far. They've been the most impressive.
Yeah, they might be what?
They have
9-10 years old.
Yeah,
they're not as stiff or rigid at that age. They're flexible, fluid.
It's a nice experience. It's a nice event.
And those are 5 places to visit in Southern Alberta. One of the things we love about this part of the province is that there is so much variety. You've got scenery, history, Indigenous culture, small towns, one-of-a-kind museums, and some genuinely unusual attractions. So let us know in the comments which of these 5 places you would most like to visit, and if there's somewhere else in Southern Alberta that you think we absolutely need to experience, let us know. If you enjoyed traveling around Southern Alberta with us, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you soon with more adventures.